Criminal, unconscionable and greedy. That's how Commissioner Kenneth Hayne describes the behaviour of our banks and financial institutions in a damning report demanding change. Treasurer Josh Frydenberg on the show earlier detailed how the government plans to respond. But what about the banks themselves? Anna Bligh heads up the Australian Banking Association and she joins me now in Sydney. Anna, good morning to you.
Good morning, Deb.
I tell you what, if you thought being a politician was tough, is defending the banks the worst job you've ever had?
It's a very important job and I take it very seriously, Deb. This is very tough times for banks and the Commissioner's report is very tough medicine. But banks are important to every single one of us, and having a strong and ethical banking system in Australia matters to every individual, family, business and the whole economy. So getting that right, finding the problems, fixing them fast and making it right for customers, I think is a really important exercise, and I'm certainly up to the challenge, and I know that the sector is right now focused on doing everything it can to earn back the trust of the Australian people.
Because that's what is at the heart of all this, trust, and as you say, we've all got a bank account or a superannuation fund, we all have dealings with the finance sector. How, though, in the wake of these findings of the Royal Commission, they're so appalling, how can we as Australians ever trust the banks again?
Well, I think being trusted is about being trustworthy, and that means that you can earn back trust when your customers start to feel and see a very different set of behaviours and they start to have a very different customer experience. There are 76 recommendations in this report and those recommendations go to improving customer entitlements and improving protections for customers, and it's a very big shake-up for banks. Just about every part of their business is set for some form of change, and that is going to take a lot of hard work, a lot of determination. Banks have formed a special task force to get on with this job as quickly as possible, because in the end they want to be trusted businesses. That's how businesses thrive, when their customers trust them. And
the NAB has been one, which Commissioner Hayne scathing, been singled out by Commissioner Hayne, scathing of CEO Andrew Thorburn and Chairman Ken Henry, saying they've been dismissive, showed no contrition, and that he has no confidence that they learned any of the lessons of the past. How can these two still be earning multi-million-dollar salaries, $4.3 million for Andrew Thorburn last year? Their heads have got to roll, haven't they?
Well, the Commissioner has formed his opinion on the basis of the evidence taken in one session at the Royal Commission. I think it can be hard to make a final character judgment of people in those circumstances. All I can say is that I've seen both of these men on a number of occasions at meetings, in rooms where they've had to put their hand up for reform and change, and they've always been adopters and promoters of change, not resistors.
Well, that's exactly the opposite of what the Commissioner has said. He says Andrew Thorburn is simply not up to the task, and in the sense that he now heads up a bank, an institution facing criminal charges. Surely, if you want trust to be restored, if Andrew Thorburn and Ken Henry keep their jobs, doesn't that just show the banks aren't willing to change? They can get away with blue murder.
I don't think anyone can read the report that was handed down yesterday and be under any illusions that there is some very tough medicine for banks, including NAB and every other bank. What people need to do now is judge banks on their actions. I accept that words are not enough and people may be cynical. What they need to do now is judge them on their actions, and those actions have to start as quickly as possible, and the changes need to be seen by customers and felt by customers. And that requires people who are prepared to put their hand up for big changes, for a very big overhaul, and I have every confidence that the leadership of Australian banks are up for that, and in fact they relish the opportunity to now start the long uphill climb to restoring their reputations and earning back that trust.
Well, that certainly is a long uphill climb. Will bank customers, however, ultimately lose out again here, though? Because implementing these Royal Commission findings will mean that it will be tougher to get a home loan, losing out and potentially the economy suffering here? Losing out and potentially the economy suffering here?
The Commission actually found that the current responsible lending laws and the changes that regulators have made of them over the last 18 months, in his view, are sufficient to protect customers. So he hasn't recommended any further tightening of that, which I think is a good thing for customers. That's particularly for the economy. So that's I think a welcome conclusion from the Commission. But he has certainly made other recommendations that will change the way banks do business and change it for the better for customers.
All right. Well, Anna Bligh, we thank you for your time this morning. And as you say, actions will speak louder than words. And let's hope there's very swift action from the banks in the wake of this very damning Royal Commission. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you, Deb.
It's going to take a while, isn't it, to turn the tide? I mean, there's a real cultural issue at the heart of it, isn't there?
That's it, exactly. And, you know, how can we trust them again? That's the key issue.
Well, especially, you know, if there's rot at the top.
She's on a hiding to nothing with that job. I'll tell you what, better Anna Bligh than me, I've got to say.
Absolutely. Well...